we got through that night, but we thought maybe we might get an attack. And actually, the Japanese, they started a Banzai charge coming behind the tanks. When the tanks got knocked out, they went back to where they were. So they never made no more Banzai charges. And the second night I was there, they'd have small parties come out and raid. I think they wanted to capture some Marines and probably bring them back to the cave and get some information because they weren't big enough to upset the beach. One night they came in, and that was when this guy came at me with a bayonet, and he was up on the ridge a little higher, the coral, so I was facing up to him. So I shot him in the stomach, and he pulled back, and then he came at me again, and then I said, I got to shoot him in the head, and I was that close. Now, they had still bolt-action rifles. He had one shot. So that's why he was using his bayonet, and I had my M1, eight rounds in it, so I wasn't going to play with him, even though we had our bayonets on. And so I just aimed my rifle, and I knew I could unload as many as I wanted if I missed, but I caught him right in the forehead, and he was up above me, so he fell on me, and as I went backwards, he's on top of me, and I pushed him off. Well, by then, a head wound, blood was squirting all over. It was all over my face, and it made a mess on me, and the taste of the blood didn't please me too well, but I pushed him off, and as he came down, sliced through my knee. Not by his direction, he was just tumbling, and his rifle had dropped. He was aiming at my middle, but as he came, he was dead. He probably dropping the rifle, actually. It wasn't aimed at my knee, but it just happened to go through, slice through my pants, and I felt I could still walk on it. Well, it was painful. And I asked his corpsman. The corpsman did a very good job. It was the only time that corpsmen all disappeared. They were killed off fast. So I left him there, and in the morning, as soon as daylight came, I went over, a young kid, real young, and I went over and opened his pack up, and lo and behold, there was a can of fish half opened, and it smelled like hell. I said, come over here, you guys. They used to always razz me. I said I could smell Japs. You can smell them. They said, yeah, you're right. Well, anyway, I luckily just had that in my knee, and there was a corpsman there, so he wrapped my knee up good. That's from the early part, so they still had some corpsmen around. But the day before, Bill Holman were with us, and there was a big Japanese blockhouse. It's still there. Without there, it's all jungle growing around it. And it was what they used, their administrative building, and it was well built, cement with reinforcing rods in it. And they were blowing a cave, and Bill and I lived on this side of that building, and rock came over and landed on his back and paralyzed him. So I helped him as much as I could, and a corpsman came, and I had to leave him because the corpsman took over. And the strange thing about this, on Goodenough Island, Giuliano and Bill Holman had done something wrong, and they made them dig a slit trench. And we had gone to a explosive school the day before, and they taught us how to use this. It was like a putty plastic or something, explosive. So we were in a tent area, and they were digging this hole, and they only dug it about 3 feet. They put a whole pack of this explosive in. Well, it caused a huge, they call, fire in the hole, and we all ran out of the tent. There was one guy named Jonath. He didn't get up, and he was laying on his stomach. A big rock come down and killed him. So Bill Holman, they were going to give him a court-martial, and they realized, they didn't have anything. It was an accident. And so here Bill had killed this fellow, not killed him on purpose, but it did happen in that accident. And hit Bill the second day, a rock hit him on the back and paralyzed him. And he did I met him up at on a hospital ship I get in the Admiralty Island. When I'm in the hospital, there was Bill on one side, and I laid on the cot beside him. They operated him at Chelsea Naval Hospital, and he regained his leg. He became a state trooper up in Maine, and then he also became chief of one of the small towns up there. I forget the name of it. So he lived pretty good. The next day, we were attacking the ridges under Fuller's direction, and we tried to go up these ridges. And I can remember climbing up. It was straight up, and I saw one or two Marines tumble down. They lost their footing and got killed by dropping down below. These weren't mountains, but the ridges weren't like this. And the Japanese were firing on us too. So we got knocked down, and we couldn't make that much headway. We lost a lot of men between the beach and here, and we only had a few people. We kept attacking. We went to another ridge, and we were able to get on another ridge, and we captured it. We were low on ammunition, so they wanted volunteers, so I said, I'll go down and get a case of ammunition. And I took a towel because I knew it was going to be heavy on my pack. I left my pack. I went down. On the way down to the beach, I came across Fuller and his command, and they were right out in the open. And runners were coming up, and I saw him. He was standing with no shirt on, his arm like this, and God Almighty, a shell went off nearby, and we all ducked. And he never stood, never moved an inch. He said, "Oh, you guys damn fools." He said, "Get up, that's a mile away," that type of language. And while we were sitting there and I was resting, I knew I had to get back. It was getting late in the afternoon. We saw this Marine come charting by, and Marine uniform didn't fit good, and sometimes they didn't. But he went a few feet, and he had a case on his shoulder, like carrying ammunition. But he was running too lightly, like the thing wasn't very heavy. And we were all staring at him. But he stopped, and he turned around to look like he got past us. He was a Jap in a Marine uniform. And when everybody realized that, everybody opened fire on him. And Fuller was just standing like this, watching it. So I didn't bother. They all went over to look at the body, but I had to get out of the beach to get the ammunition. So I left there, but my picture of Fuller and the way he was so casual about it, and his leadership was so impressive. Here, he's showing all of this bravery or lack of real fear or anything. And it helps people around you when you see like that. And it did. I went away with such an impression of Fuller. We all had great respect for him, of course. And I saw him move, and I noticed he was limping very badly. So my understanding from what I've read since, that he had some bad wounds, I guess, on Cape Gloucester, and he went in there. So anyway, I got the ammunition and went back. And then they needed water. So Marvin Hatton, they told him, like, I was willing to go again, but no, they said no. And so I was just as soon that ammunition was heavy. So he went down, and then we started getting some artillery shells on us. And we thought it was coming from possibly a ship out, and maybe some one of their men sighting the ridges might have thought we were Japanese. We had to keep getting down because this ship or wherever it came from would fire 2 shots. And whoever was reporting back on the phone probably was saying, these are Japs up there. Well, Marvin came back and he had no water. He had an empty can. We said, what's the story? No water. He said, the water's no good. He said, it's got fuel in it. And they couldn't... he said, I took a drink of it. He said, it almost made me sick. So we had no water.